What's going on, everybody? Really excited about this episode. I've made so many hobby friends over the last 2 years, and one of the guys I really like a lot and have spent a good amount of time with a couple of times is my friend Mike Petty. And he's got an incredible card collection, and this year he has really been buying some amazing stuff. And so, what we're going to do is, I'm going to have a conversation with him today, and we're going to look at what he's bought so far this year. And I'm telling you, it's some absolutely incredible cards. So, why has he been buying what he's been buying? Where has he been buying them? Why has he been buying the grades, the conditions, the cards, the different issues? We're going to talk about all of that. And more than anything, I'm just excited to hang out with my friend. So I hope you'll enjoy this. I know you'll enjoy this. And he's a great guy. He's got a great collection. This is going to be a lot of fun.
All right, everybody. As I was just saying, I am really excited for this. One of my favorite guys, an incredible collection, which we're going to take a peek at, just part of it today. Mr. Petty, how you doing?
Fantastic and amazing. How are you there, liver lips?
I'm doing better now. I've been working all day so I could look forward to this conversation with you.
Yeah, I've been looking
Um,
forward to it too.
it's fun because, we've become pretty good friends, and we interacted a little bit before Strongsville, but then we get to Strongsville and I feel like we just hit it off.
Yeah.
And it's fun to catch up on the phone. You came up for that card show in Sacramento a few months ago. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a lot of your 2024 purchases, which
Okay.
my head literally explodes when I think that all of these are from 2024 because it's
You
amazing.
think Darren had a list?
That's the list?
This
Is
is
that
the
the list
list.
of what you bought or what you
A
wanted?
list of names, Chief. No, this is just the list that have all been crossed off for the year.
Those are the
I
crossed off lists.
Well, it's the list in progress. List of names.
I can genuinely say that whatever people are thinking they're going to see today, it's going to exceed that. Now,
I
most of the
wouldn't say
cards,
that. I mean, really, half the cards that I didn't get, I ended up with a lot of these, and I'll talk to you a little bit about these auction houses and some of my thoughts, going along, how I picked some of them up in auction, and I actually just as the opportunity came up, I just picked them up, picked them off systematically, like I always do, with no regard to centering much. And I probably could have been a little bit more careful with some of them, but I have what I have, and we'll see. We'll correct that problem later with a new list at some point.
now, no, the thing that I think is interesting is most of these are pre-war, not all, but a lot
Yeah,
of them are pre-war. And I know that if we go back a few years, you were doing a lot more post-war stuff.
right.
So is that kind of what happened? Is it just evolved to you check those boxes and this is where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, when I met you guys, you guys started in YouTube like before the pandemic. I had really been working all the way up from 1950 to 1975 without much regard. I was really laser focused. I'd go on player runs and, starting with the big names and then working my way down to the second and third tier burrito guys when I really could have been, working my way through the T206s and the Gaudis that I've always had a love for, mostly the four Cobbs and the four Ruths, and those were high on my list. But I don't know why I didn't really venture into them before the pandemic. When I guess I had just started about 2019, I had got a nice Ruth, like uh, the I don't know, the one of him batting,
Hmm.
that one,
In the Gaudi, the 33
in
Gaudi.
the 333
Yeah.
Galley, the first one. And I picked that up for a really great price. At the time, it was a lot of money, because I don't think I was used to spending like $2,500 on a card, or
Right.
3,000 at that time, much. Because I was just picking off, 100, 200, and I got a lot of nice cards, for 200 and 300 and less in
Mhm.
great grades. So stuff that's been, on the upward trajectory even after the pandemic, which has been nice because the stuff that I'm buying now, I'd be hard pressed to see any of that go up. I'm not a big believer that is gonna, continue to march up at these prices. They are effing insane, in my
So the
opinion.
stuff that you've been buying, you don't think it
Mhm.
has a lot of growth potential?
I really don't. I mean, call me stupid, and that's why I don't believe that this is like a money making venture. This is dead money that I'm throwing into this. I mean, take into consideration, that I used to use this for the last 15 years. I've been stockpiling cash and gold. I had buy, like 1 to 2 or 3 ounces a month from $800 up to 2,000 and watch it ride down and up and not caring because I liked them. I just liked the way they looked, and I'm a collector. I like to
Mhm.
collect things. And I followed some friends that advice that this was the way to, just to wealth, I guess. That's what I was looking. I learned how to do this. It wasn't, I listened to other people that I admired and that, had just made it top of the mountain way before I ever did.
Mhm.
I'm just following their footsteps and their parents that taught them. My parents never taught me how to do that. And so I think the last year and a half has definitely been, my gold and my cash money. Obviously I have my investments, I have my home that, we remodeled that. And I don't really go without saving, but this has been unprecedented 2 years in business where I've really never seen this kind of increase in the last 2 years.
Mhm.
It's always, my business has always kind of been flat, up, down. It's been very steady for 20 years, but the last 2 years have really been on a trajectory, and I'm just spending it. I mean, what can I tell you? Should I save more? Probably. But at my age, I don't give a shit anymore. I like the cards. I wanted them. And this has been my goal since I started. I just didn't realize, how much it was going to cost. And I still have a lot further to go, you know. Really.
All right. Well, some of the stuff this year, what I noticed, because you sent over some pictures. So what we'll
Uh-huh.
do here in a minute as we start kind of talking about this is you'll show some of the cards, but then because you sent me images of the cards, I'll also put those on the screen so people can get a little bit of a better look at times. I noticed that you went with a few players heavy and
Hmm.
some other players a sprinkling of. Were there certain people, certain players at the start of the year you were like, I want to buy more of this guy and this guy, or is that just the way that it played out?
No, well, I mean, the top tier of my burrito has always been, Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Babe Ruth, and Lou Gehrig, and somewhat Joe Jackson. I mean, and then of course I've got Mantle, which that's been 95% taken care of before this nightmare started. So I don't have a lot of mantles to go. I have a few high priced ones that if it came up the right time, I would certainly like that tip top bread that came up the other night. You know, should I probably have went for that? They said it went at a great price, like at 27,000 versus spreading across 3 cards that maybe I like, but maybe that I don't love. These are all things that you need to consider that I'm starting to reconsider. And normally I don't. Normally I don't have any kind of buyer's remorse or anything. Once I get it, I get the cards, I'm excited, but I'm starting to really, think about it a little bit more, I think.
Well, before we take our first look at some of these
All right.
cards, are there cards that you're thinking about maybe selling? I mean, are there
Well,
pickups where you said, "Yeah, I would have rather had that, so I'm going to
I'm
sell
starting
these."
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to think of that because keep in mind, I've really never sold a card. I've probably traded 4 or 5 cards, but I think that is going to be for for next year. So I'm committed this year. I was trying to get like 100 cards,
Hmm.
add it to my list, of those top guys, Wagner, Ruth, Gehrig, specifically Cobb, and see where it takes me. And you'll see. I mean, you can't afford the best copy of every single card. You find it, at least I probably could, but I'd have to be a lot more patient, and it's not a strong suit. Patience is not something
So let me pull up the first screen. So a player
All
that you
right.
just said that you focused a lot on
Hmm.
was Ty Cobb, and you
Right.
also just said that you could have held out for a higher grade or a higher copy or
Yeah.
whatever. So if we look on the screen here, we've got the
Let's talk
first
about.
three of several Cobbs that we're going to be looking at. And again, these are all cards you picked
And
up
let's
this
notice
year.
the grades for one
Yeah,
thing.
right.
You see that I wouldn't buy ones. I normally would buy maybe a two in these style cards, or maybe a three in the American caramels. And
Mhm.
I've bid on those cards before. The one on the right, the Philadelphia caramel. That's this one right here.
Yeah.
You know, I I wanted it to be, deep red. I didn't want it to have any, much paper loss in the facing area and on the card itself. But this particular card came up, and I didn't want to pay 8,500 or 8,000 for a copy like that. I ended up getting the one for a lot less, and
Mhm.
it's very visual pleasing. So like, I don't have an urge. I don't really want to upgrade that card at all, or even think about it. I love it the way it is. It looks a little worn. The corners are rounded. It's a beautiful one, and on that particular one, the back is perfect. And look at the centering. I mean, I think it all tells us picture. So for
Yeah.
that, I like it for the price.
Yeah, I mean, you always joke about your collection's low eye appeal, but we look at these cards and all
A
three
lot.
of them are really well centered. Again, it's a 1910-11 Sporting Life, a 1921 American Caramel, and a 1909 Philadelphia Caramel, all Cobb. We're going to see several Cobbs here, but they're
Hmm.
they're all well centered.
Same
And
thing with the one on the left there, the Sporting Life.
yeah,
So the story how on the Wagner, how I got beat up on that with the holder, but I've always liked that, and I've bid on these cards, the pastel, the blue version, and I just seem to come up short on the nice ones. I don't know if I don't want to go that extra bid on like a five. They go for again 8 or 10,000. I'm
hmm,
just not ready to put that kind of money in, so I will take a nice copy to cross it off my list. And it's got a little bit of creasing in it, or the wrinkling on the top and the corners, a little bit of paper loss on the face, which I don't generally like. But again, a perfect back, and just a really nice representation of a one.
yeah. So, oops,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
very.
sorry, I meant to put you on there. Hold that up
Oh,
again for us.
okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, I love the centering. I love when corners are uniformly rounded. It doesn't bother me that they're rounded.
I
Like,
like them
and
both. I like them if they're sharp, great. But if they're not,
all
that's
four
great
of
too.
these, they're very symmetrical and they're centered.
Hmm.
And I totally get, it's like, well, do I want to have a couple of these or do I want to have one that doesn't have any scuffing on it? I get that.
Yeah.
Now
Like you see
let's
some of our friends the way, I mean, they send us cards that I could only wish to own. They're literally like perfectly centered and eights, every time. I just don't, I don't know. I don't collect in that stratosphere. I'm more, a collector in this nature. And the Cobb in the middle,
yeah.
I look at that, it's not perfectly centered, but the paper loss that it does have, causes it to be a 1.5. The back is great.
To me that one is
Also,
beautiful.
it's gorgeous.
That
It's
is a
for a one and a
beautiful
half,
card.
it's a beautiful card.
Yeah.
And, I picked this up directly from a dealer locally.
Okay.
and got a good price on it. Paid, so
And we'll
each one
talk
of
a
them.
little bit about that. And we'll keep moving. I'm going to go to the next
Okay, keep
screen.
going. Yeah, we'll go
But
crazy here.
one of the things that I wanted to ask you, so maybe as you're looking at these three, is there one place? So now we've got on the screen a T205 gold border Cobb, a 1930s Rogers Pete in an SGC 8,
Yeah, that's a
and
nice one.
a T206, the white borders green portrait in a PSA 2. Is there a place that you, generally speaking, get most of your cards? Are most of them at the auction houses, or is it just all over the
They
place?
have been lately, and what I've been noticing, I've been trying to give all the auction houses a chance. Heritage, Love the Game, REA, there was another one, Mile High just recently. But I don't know. I like these are both all products of different things. So the gold border, how I get that. It's a pretty nice card, but again,
Oh yeah.
you get the verbal blowjob with the write-up, first time on the market, and all the everybody, you're gonna pay all the money for that. It's got nice centering,
Oh,
which you
it's a
like, and it's got the new label. I have that one
new
here. So
label, serial
yeah,
number. Here, let me
all right.
put you on here.
You could see
New
that.
label, higher serial number, was graded probably in the last year and a half. I mean, it's a gorgeous card.
It really is. I mean, because if you look at that card, like I've been looking for it for quite a while, and to try to find it in that clean a shape, it's really tough. You can find them with a little less gold, scuffed off, for a 2 or a 3, but you're going to pay through the ass,
So when I see
and
a
it
card,
kind of ends up. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
when I see a card like the one in
Hmm.
the middle there,
Hmm.
I don't personally, I'm not super familiar with that particular set. I know I've seen those cards, but that's not
Hmm.
like a set where I think is as much of a household name. And I go, oh yeah, and I could, I think of the cards I can close my eyes and I can see them are
No, that's
kind of the
one of
ones
those that you never see. I mean,
that.
and it's just it's kind of a oddity or what. I call it the Rodney Pete. It's the Rogers Pete, that
Now,
version,
is
and
that a
nobody even
card that
knows what year it is.
does that pop up on an auction house and you go, oh, I'd like to have that one, or
So
is that a card that?
I'll tell you
Yeah.
how I saw that. So, our friend Ash had that. He had that in his display case for a year. He was asking like 4,000 for it. There's another one that a guy's trying to sell. It's like a 2.5. He's asking like, 2,500 or something for it for months. And nobody, these aren't cards that really anybody wants. Also, this card was slipping out of that case.
Hmm.
So this particular picture, this is actually at SGC right now being reholdered because I just thought it would look so much better in the new holder. If you saw that card, it was drooping, all the way down in that holder when I bought it. I mean, it was ridiculous. So when I just saw Ash in Burbank, I had bought that Jackie Robinson postcard that I showed you, and I
We'll
wanted to
get
buy
to that.
something from
Yeah.
him. I wanted to buy something from him, and he didn't really have. He seemed to have a lot of the old stuff. He didn't really have much, but I kind of knew I was in after that. And when Mangini saw him like a month before, and he didn't offer up on it or whatever, I figured that he just let that go. And for what reason? I mean, he must have it. That must be one of the reasons why he let it go. But I just went in there. I gave him my best offer, and he still got an extra 100 out of me. You know how he normally he gets 200 or more out of me, but we settled. Like I told him I wasn't going to pay him a penny over 3,000. That he had it in his case. I go, you must be dying with that card on the vine. Nobody wants it. So it ended up in my collection. That's how I had some extra money lying around there.
All right. So you all out there thought 6 Cobbs was enough for the year. No,
Yeah.
there are more. Now, on this
Okay.
particular group, I love the one in the center. The
Yeah. That's a gorgeous
1909 E90-1 American Caramel is a gorgeous card. I saw a really nice one at the National at about the third table I went to, and I was like, do I want to use my entire budget on this? and I think it was a really nice centered 1.5. And I seriously considered it for several hours. It's just a gorgeous card.
It is. That's one of my favorite, and that's an actual card that I did target in an auction and that actually won. A lot of those other cards are second, so you go back to the last screen, with these other Cobbs. I had been looking for that green Cobb for over a year and a half to try to find the right one at the right price without creases, but as much green as I could and best centering. I happened to find that the same week that Darren found his just masterpiece. The
Yeah.
difference between mine and that masterpiece, obviously, it
Oh,
probably cost him a fortune, but these cards were kind of gotten after I lost out on some big cards. So these were almost like consolation prizes, believe it or not.
So on a card like the Willard's Chocolates, the 1923 Willard's Chocolates, is that a card that you set out for, or do you say,
No.
"Oh, that's a Cobb that I don't have"?
It's a Cobb that I don't have. I knew it was a tough one. Yeah, here it is. I knew it was a tough one. It was a guy that I knew that I'd done a deal with in the past. And the funny thing is he wanted, he wouldn't really budge on the price, even though I had sent him a check before and made a deal with him. It's a really neat, it's just a really neat picture.
Yeah, it really is. It
It's hard to-
pained me. It pained me to put it up and down vertically on the screen here. I'm like, but it's just the only way to make it fit. But
so the story about that is, so he wouldn't really, he said he sends me an email, says, "Here's these cards I have available. Do you have any interest?" I go, "Yeah, I have interest in that one." And then he just never really got back to me. He wouldn't give me much off. I said, "Screw it." Next thing you know, 2 months later, it's on eBay, same exact card. And I just bid on it. And I got it for, I don't know, a few $100 less than, but by the time I paid tax and everything, I didn't get a deal on it. I had a bid against everybody. So everybody had a chance on it. Same way on the one on the right. That's another American Caramel, 1.5 on the right. That's the batting pose version.
I absolutely love that, how he's bunting. I mean, bunting isn't really a part of the game now. It was a huge part of the game. A lot of these guys had the hit streaks, like Willie Keeler. Like a lot of those were bunts. It's like,
yeah. And I think too, I love that pose.
Yeah.
Because that's the pose on the T227 with the nice yellow background, and that card has been on my hit list since the beginning of the year. I've had 4 or 5 offers on them, and I've tried to buy them everywhere I go, and I haven't been successful in finding that right one. And it's kind of been a pain in the ass, but like every time I bid on it, I end up going crazy, getting to a point, I just say F it, and then I end up with something else. That's the way it's been going.
All right, we're gonna keep moving to another screen of Cobbs. This time I put 4 on there, and the thing I liked about these, so these are in that ice cream card era. We've got the Harringtons, we've got the Yinglings, we've got a Caramel and a W502. The same pose, same picture.
Right.
Now, on these cards, again, like you look at any of these, to me, and again, if you look at the Yinglings there, you can see the ice cream on it, which I think is fantastic.
In the one, especially, it's centered. Look at it. I got that from Ash, and that was a throw-in at Strongsville. I don't know if that was before I bought the Ruth card. I traded
the Maze,
Maze,
the 52 Maze. What was the
Redman?
The Redman, yeah. Now, but that in a one, and again, the ice cream is very common, but it's fantastic eye appeal card for a one.
And the back is nice. Let's take a look at that, Larry.
Let me zoom in on you here. Hold on one second. There we go.
So now, you see, that's the way my cards are from the ice cream era. They're all like that. You take a look at your, some of your friends that collect these that got me into it too. They don't have ice cream on theirs. They're perfect.
Now
they're 7s and 8s.
Yeah, and these again. So we're now at 13 Ty Cobbs on the year.
Are you counting?
And we're only on player 1. we're 23 minutes in, and I'm having a blast.
Holy
but we're
shit,
still
this is
on. We're
embarrassing.
still on Cobb. Let's go to the next screen of.
Brutal.
Oh, look at that! More Cobbs.
Oh,
So
now
we
there's
got
one on there that I do regret. The one on the left, I got that from the Strongsville from William Chappell, and I can't
Yeah.
wait to go see him again. I really love that card.
Yeah.
That's one of my all-time favorites. You could have had a 4 at the last auction at the Love of the Game. PSA, it was just as nice or nicer. I'm sorry, I don't know what the hell.
No, you're fine.
But anyway, you can see the card.
Yeah.
I mean, it went for a great price. It went for like less than 5,000. I mean, so this is like, already lost money on this, I'm sure. But
So
I
you
don't
said
think
you
it's
regret that? Or are you kidding?
No,
or are you
I
serious?
don't regret. I don't.
Okay,
regret it.
got it. Yeah, because that again, a beautiful eye appeal on a 2.5.
Yeah, and then
Fantastic.
now the one I do regret a little bit is this one.
Okay, so it's
Even
the
though I love
Nielsen
it.
chocolate.
Yeah, and you can see mostly I regret it is because I couldn't turn down the price. That was the thing. It has
Sure.
a crease right across it, and the face just isn't that clear. So that might be one that, like, if I start deciding to, consult, that would be one of the first ones on my list to maybe. I don't know. It won't get me very far, but it'll be a start in trying to part with something. And it's got a back that they call a Type 2.
Let's put you on here. Yeah.
So and you can see the pop. I like to put the pop.
Pop 8-7 higher.
But you can see it's got the regular. I like the Nielsen's that has the more flamboyant or whatever you call it. The better Type 1 writing, the Nielsen. So yeah, there's that.
So
that's a lot of Cobbs.
That wraps up Ty Cobb. So
but I didn't get the one I wanted.
What's the one you wanted?
The T227. That's the problem, you see.
Now, another player you were really focused on this year is Honus Wagner. So you bought several of his cards. Now, we obviously know Honus Wagner as, the Honus Wagner T206. But, he was an inaugural ballot Hall of Famer when Trish Speaker and Cy Young took a second ballot to get in. Honus Wagner was one of the original guys. I think sometimes that goes, forgotten a little bit. But these three are fantastic. Now, the one on the right, if I remember correctly, that was a Swamp Find card, that black swamp thing.
Yeah, that's where they came out. Like, they're not particularly rare. There's probably 10, and maybe of this in 7, and there's maybe 10 higher. What do I have written here? Pop 6, 9 higher, 39 total in SGC, and probably about the same. And they used to be very rare. Like, if you see them when they're really beat up in the 2s and 3s, those are the original.
That was before the find.
That was before this fake find.
Right. And when you look at these cards again, a lot of what you have are lower grade, but I think eye appeal, but then that one's a 7.
Yeah, so I just kind of take and give what the hobby gives me. So to tell you the truth, I mean, this one was available on the right. The 7 was available in my price range at that time on Net 54. The guy wasn't going to budge much. I figured it's a pretty good deal, and I just wrote him a check and picked that up. So that was like a opportunity. Now the Dockman that I don't have that in hand here, but I just got that at the Love of the Game auction, and that again is a consolation prize. I was bidding on the beautiful Boston store. Honus Wagner. I talked with a couple of people and kind of figured out, how much it should go for, and I bid it up, over $1,000 more over that. And there's only so much I can do. And so what ends up happening is once that finally releases, then I just say, all right. Then I end up, picking at another. This was the second Wagner, so it's the booby prize. It's got some creasing around the face, but it's pretty nicely centered, and it's
Yeah.
good enough for me.
Yeah.
Wagner.
All right. So
that's how I end up with them.
not just one page of Wagner. So we got a second page of Wagner. So we got the Colgan's chips. I know you've talked to Mr. Mangini about that because of what this actually is, because the Colgan cards are circular, but these are square and they're listed as a proof.
Right.
But
and we don't really know what they're a proof of,
Yeah.
So there's talk about maybe it was an advertising piece where it might have been attached. I think some of these proofs have some gum or something on the back. This one doesn't. And that's why it ranks at a 3.5. So I think there's only 3 of these, and there's nothing higher than a 2.
If you see one of the Colgan tins, they're obviously round, and the other ones are round. So it's one of those things where with a lot of this stuff, I mean, it was 115 years ago. So like, it's hard to know what, the history of it. They weren't recording stuff.
And I'm a sucker for stuff like that. It's rare, and so I figured, what I always wanted a Honus Wagner, and I'm a big believer about never saying never about things like, hey, if I once saw a guy, he had a 1958 Corvette, and I said, I'll never have anything like that. He says, don't ever say never, because you're basically setting yourself. I was a young man then, and now, if I wanted one, it would be no problem to get one. I mean, I have something similar, but so you never say never, except for I will say I never will have a T206 Honus Wagner. So that's as close as I'm going to get.
Most people won't.
Yeah.
So we got the same image on the 2 on the right. We've got the E98. And again, I mean, are any of these Wagners ones that you set out for, or what's a Wagner? Which one?
The EUNC candy card. I definitely, wanted to try to get some rare Wagners too, if I could. And that again was kind of a consolation prize. I wanted it. Don't get me wrong, but that was an auction where there was like 4 or 5 gorgeous Babe Ruths. They kind of got me on the, I think John, 3D Kid, had me on the collectors. We were kind of showing, some of the ins and outs of the auction, and Rick Oddball Cards was egging me on, and, kind of not only that, but just giving me advice. He says, if there's one Wagner you want that one. And, we were lucky enough to win that. And then I won a consolation Babe. I didn't win one of the nice Babes that I wanted because they just went out of fucking sight.
I don't think there's such thing as a consolation Babe, but
that's the way they happen. Believe me.
Here's another page of Wagner cards. Now,
these are all easy to get Wagners, though. I mean, non-playing days.
Well, yeah. The American Caramel on the left.
This is a tough one. Yeah, this was a targeted one. I liked the way it looked. I knew it had a really low pop. It's just no creases, and this particular image and picture is on many of the. It's on many of the cards. The Dockman.
See, now looking at your live picture versus the picture that I had on the screen, the color really is popping off of the actual card you're holding. And that set, and there's a couple of sets like it, but that set in particular, those sunsets in the background over the hills is really pretty spectacular.
Centered on the back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
That's a beautiful card.
Yeah.
So you went heavy in Cobb, you went heavy in Wagner, and then there's another guy who you have another page of Wagner. So these are the non-playing days. 40 play ball. What do you think of the 40 play ball set?
I mean, I never liked it. That's why I didn't because it wasn't in color. I never liked it. But I'm starting to pick up a few little 1940s of the guys in my wheelhouse, the Christy Mathewsons, the Walter Johnsons, the Wagner. I mean, it's fairly ugly, but like it's not as nice as the other ones. Like, I mean, I love the big pen, man. That,
Yeah.
that's like a $200 card. And for Wagner, I mean, where are you going to find a card like that for 200? Or
And the
it's
thing
big,
that
maybe nobody wants it. I don't know.
I think oversized cards, have a mixed bag for some people. But the thing I love about these cards that we're looking at right now is it shows us of a time where these guys were lifers. Like, you
Yeah.
didn't quit playing and then go off to your mansion and have people wait on you and you never came out again. This was a time where these guys,
They
they
had to
still were,
work.
they were earning money. They had to get a job and they couldn't get away from it. And this is all they knew. And so
Yeah.
that it's very humanizing to see that.
And then the Leaf card, I never liked the Leafs. And you know how they're typically, they can be really out of registration.
Oh yeah.
That's the first Leaf that I bought, was the Wagner. I thought that was a pretty nice representation. It's impossible to find centered, and just whatever. These are relatively very inexpensive, compared to some of those others. And the tip top, which was, I never saw the thing before. And then the same week I bought that, I saw Aaron showed the same card. I mean, he's got an amazing collection of like eclectic cards and stuff. And what I mean, then there's only like I don't know, that's a very low pop, that tip top red. And this is one of my favorites. I got that in Strongsville too.
Yeah, he's holding up
This
the
is the
Connie
one
Mac.
this is the one that Mangini shows, one of his 4 cards on his logo. And there's a Ruth like this that I'm really toying with.
Yeah, that Connie Mac set is really, really pretty.
Really pretty cool when you get it, like that. But yeah, so it's been a chore just to get to this spot, but I'm finally padding my stat line a little bit now.
All right, so the next guy that you went a little bit towards this year's Babe Ruth, which
not as far as I'd like, believe me.
Well, I mean, you did not as many as you had Cobbs or Wagners, but several.
Yeah.
Here are 3. Now, one
Yeah.
of these, I thought you made a trade. Didn't you make a trade for that one?
The Montage, I only traded a few $1,000s with Ash on that. I beat up Dandy Mantle. And then, I still had to write him a significant check. But it's pretty nice. I mean, that's certainly not centered, but there's no real creasing in it. The picture's great. Let's see if I got me, because everybody loves that card.
That's a really popular card.
That's a card I actually have here. So
yeah,
it's a very low. There's only, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these PSA 2s around. I think Orlando has one too. He's the one that really started to show me this card. And I just fell in love with it. It's funny, when Adam had me on that show of his, that 30 for 30, this was one of the 3 that I picked. This and that stupid T227 Cobb and the Wagner 1915 Cracker Jack, which I really wanted. And that I had a pass on that like a month ago. I had a guy that was in my Facebook group. It was a PSA 3, good price and everything, but I don't know. There was just something about it. Centering wasn't great. It didn't look great for a 3. It looked more like a 2. And he was selling it kind of like for a 2.5, but I didn't pull the trigger. And then I kind of thought about it. And 2 days later, I get back to me and says, "No, I sold it right after I talked to you." That's the way they go. So that's the Montage. And then the card that I also targeted and liked was this. This is the Nielsen Chocolate Ruth.
Yeah, very nice.
Pose.
It's a beautiful card.
It's a great pose and a beautiful card. Yeah. It's got that beautiful back with the script that I like. Type 1, they call it.
I'm not gonna even mention that Adam, you were talking about a second ago, Adam Splendid Sports, that he still hasn't asked me to be on his 3 and 3 show, but that's okay.
He hardly ever does it anymore. It was a great show. I don't know. I think he must be busy.
I guess. He's had some people on twice, but I've never been invited on.
Well, now you know how I feel every day. You're the only one that calls me. Nobody calls me.
I love having I love just hanging out with you, buddy.
I have got a lot of enemies in the hobby.
No, you don't.
Oh yeah, people hate me.
All right, so now we've
They're gonna
got
hate me more after this.
some serious heat on the
Oh.
screen. The Cashin, that's a
Yeah,
pretty sweet card, and
that
that's a
here.
really good eye
And
appeal
it's a
copy of
pretty.
it.
This is a great intro into Ruth, kind of like the Centella, the margarine
Sanella. Yeah.
Santella. You know how great I am with
It's
names,
just a
but
beautiful card.
it really is. It's got that beautiful pose.
And they don't
And
fall
looks
out
like
of
the gift.
trees, you know.
No, not really.
And then there's the one with the big story where we were all huddled
Well,
around you, the 28 Yingling.
that's a
And
great card. Let's see.
that
Gotta find
was
that somewhere.
a fun moment. If you haven't seen my Strongsville Day 2 video, we walked through the process of that purchase from Ash at Strongsville.
And I've shown that a lot. I don't.
You also
so
picked
much,
up
I
the
must have lost it.
you also picked up the
here.
33 Gowdy Ruth
Yeah.
on the screen at Strongsville as well.
Very simple. You know, that was a. I still need the red one, so I've been trying to get those 4, and that was like the 3rd one. And I could have had those from the Mike Moynihan collection that they real collection that they had.
Yeah.
And in the end, I don't know. I didn't feel like I could pay all the money for that before Strongfield for both of them. And the shape they were nice. They were graded fairly 2.5, but it's probably over my pay grade and under what I'm expecting for that kind of a card. And they priced, I mean, Ash bought them for a few hundred less, but you know, and I didn't want to negotiate with Mike because you know how he can be. He set the price, and fair enough. I didn't, I didn't say I'll give you 9,000. I didn't want to, I just said, look, it's not right for me. I think you'll sell them. But we made a good deal on the Gehrig, and that's that card. I mean, it has great centering. It's got an unsuspecting crease. It kind of looks like a 2 would.
Mm-hmm.
No real, but it has like a little bit of abrasion up here on the back, which I could give a shit less about. It's not, really nothing on the back. So I got that for a lot less than the 2.5 would have cost. Sure. And then I was able to buy other stuff too at that time. And I have the other 2 here, which are pretty nice copies. One's they're both 1.5s, these Ruths. So I still need the red.
So those ones weren't this year's purchases; those are previous year purchases.
These were this was from Ash, the green one.
Okay.
But this was well over a year ago, and then this one was before COVID. That kind of started me all off to think. I thought I was on my way, but got a little sidetracked there with COVID. Boy, prices went crazy.
All right, and then we've got another screen. This is the last screen of Ruth. So you got the African
again.
You got the African tobacco. So these are going to be, like the 48 swell and the 49 leaf. I mean, but again,
so
I keep saying this. That they're really good eye appeal cards.
Some of them, but not all. Like this one, like if you looked at old Sarge, he picked up one of these. I think it was in a 1. With colors just like better than this.
He got a beautiful one recently.
Just as centered or better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't care what he paid for that. That card was freaking gorgeous. And I love this one. But this one was a consolation prize with that UNC Wagner. Because I was going after some heavy Ruths that were in there that you never see. And I just couldn't pull the trigger. So I end up with that. This was a recent purchase, and I really love these sports thrills, and I think they get underrated. There's that Jackie Robinson that's on my list, and once I saw this is the called shot.
When you got the pictures, he's high-fiving Gehrig after hitting the home run.
That after
pretty cool.
Supposed called shot, I think that was how they photo matched the jersey. Look.
Wow.
I don't know how they did that, but
that's a cool card.
And you were asking about the African tobacco.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Have you ever seen that before?
That's not a card I'm familiar with. No.
Yeah. So I saw it about 6 months ago. from a guy in the Facebook group who he is always way overpriced. You know, if they asking 3, 4, 5,000 for this card, rare, you know, pop trending up, all this kind of shit that they do to try to get you enticed. But I think it's the same picture as what the hell is it? The same picture, and it's the same picture used on another popular card. And it's the only baseball card in that set. And again, consolation prize from that lost Wagner, that Boston store Wagner and that Hank Aaron home run derby that I wasn't able to go that extra 1,000 or more over it. Just like, you know, those were the two cards that I really targeted. I didn't end up with either one of them. I ended up with this, the Ruth, the 2.5 that we already went through, and that beat up Wagner. So that's how it goes, folks.
All right. So then you picked up a few Gehrigs along the way. I think most of us have heard of him.
Yeah.
So here are 3 really pretty cards. So the 34 Gaudy, now this is the green background of the 34 Gaudy. And then the 33 DeLong. When did you pick up the 33 DeLong? That was pretty recently, isn't it?
It was. So that was in a Heritage auction. I believe it was Heritage. There was a 2 deluxe. So I've been bidding on these that wasn't even one of my top cards that I wanted to get. When I did that at the beginning of the year, even though it's been on my list for 3 years and the price has just gone up. And I've been an underbidder so many times, probably 5 times and everybody wants the world for them. You know, they're actually Ash had a nice 2. I made him, he got it right away. I reached out to him, made him a good offer. And he said, oh, I've already been offered like 9,500. I go ahead, Tex. See you later. You know, I let that go. Turns out that Matthew, 1956 Tops guy, I heard on his podcast that he bought that card. So it was nice enough for him. It was pretty centered to kind of, it looked very similar to this one. But so on that auction, there was a 2 and a 2.5. And the 2 looked really nice. There was some paper loss on it. It was centered as well. The corners were a little sharper. And I just had a feeling that this was going to kind of, slip a little bit somewhat through the cracks. So the 2 went for a couple $1,000s more. And after I looked at this card, backwards and forwards, I said, it's great for a 2.5.
Yeah.
It's good for the grade. I mean, it's old label, but it's a fair, honest grade, which is unusual. And I was able to get it for a couple $1,000 less than my,
it's really well centered and it's got really good color.
It does. And there's no real paper loss or anything on it, no creases. So anyway, that was a good deal and a good target on that.
And
the other Gehrig, I got that from the Grail collection. That was one I was lucky enough to pick up. I've showed that before.
Yeah.
Great, just a beautiful card, and that's beautiful for the grade.
You got that one in Strongsville, right?
I did, yeah, from Mike.
Yeah.
And then the one in the middle, I got that on YouTube. I mean, where did I get that? Net 54. A guy couldn't give it away because it was just all shaved up and whatnot. But a great image, and it's getting right now too.
I think they're pretty. I think the cashing cards are really pretty cards.
They are. There's a couple of nice ones right now on Net 54. Guy has some beautiful ones graded. So yeah.
And we got a couple more Gehrigs here. We've got a 28 W502. And there's something about the image on him on the one on the right that just reminds me of how I think of him. Let me play. There you go. That's a young looking picture there of him.
This is the one that they have on the ice cream cards too, on the Harrington, the Tharps. It's the same image. Yeah. And what was fascinating, of course, I was on tilt after losing some other things, and I started looking up these 3-baggers, and it turns out that there was none. So, and I'm not a big back guy as far as like trying to collect all the backs or anything. So I did pay a little bit more for this one in an auction. that ended really late at night. I woke up and I won it. I said, all right, I'll take it. And the guy was, a collector already had reached out to me, but I don't sell or anything.
Generally
But
speaking, where do you stand on hand cut cards versus non-hand cut cards? Both these two are hand cut.
yeah, I don't care anymore. I mean, if I like them to be graded for the most part, but you don't see a whole lot of A's on these, which I'm
Mhm.
certainly not against a nice A if they're, you know, if they look like this, for sure. The
Sure.
the one on the right is a pretty rare issue, the Sport Exchange. It came in sheets, and you can find a lot of the sheets. In fact, the sheets went pretty reasonable at one of a recent auction with Gehrig on it. But who wants to? You got the whole sheet in a big old block. Who wants to? Nobody's collecting that. You want the card. And I just felt for the price that these were going for, I have a couple of those. Let's see.
Somebody
Yeah,
might get those laser cut.
yeah. I mean, I don't care because I have a few of them now. Yeah, they might have them
Yeah,
laser cut
that's a
out of the
really
sheet.
great picture of him.
It really is. It's a good, and so I think this is another real reasonable entry point into buying Hall of Famers. Like Gehrig, Joe Jacksons, and
Yeah,
Wagners, and guys like that, where you might not necessarily be able to afford an old. It's true, it's not playing days, but I just think they're very rare, or scarce, or rare, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
sure.
But
Speaking of Joe Jackson, he's
yeah,
next
but
on deck.
boy,
So,
he's next on deck, all right. But he's coming up next year.
oh boy.
He's on my keep
Very
moving.
expensive. Joe Jackson cards have gotten very expensive.
Boy, our
And more
friend
than more
Tony,
than
he
just
really showed
expensive,
some.
they just don't come up for sale.
No, and then when they do, they're instantly like it. No matter what they are, they're like instantly at $30 or $30,000 if they're any
Yeah.
decent, and they're 50 before you blink, and
Yeah.
it's hard to. Well, we'll talk about trying some of my plans for next year. But these, did you see Tony, our friend in the
Yeah.
Discord?
Tony
You
Liebrek and
know him,
we text most days actually. I'm pretty
do
good
you?
pals with Tony, and he not only did he give a great background and history of Joe
Yeah.
Jackson in that video, but then he showed off just some incredible cards.
Yeah, it
So
was just beautiful. His first video.
yeah,
He gets out there, talks about it on the, just a
yeah,
master class.
yeah. He did
Beautiful the
really
way he
well.
did it. And those cards were sickening. And hey, Tony, if you're out there, if you want to trade that Jackson for one of those Ruths, you give me a call. You know how to get a hold of me.
I
Because
know.
he said he might trade.
I
He was looking to trade. Because I didn't.
I
He had
know.
that erasure on it. I saw
It
that
it
erasure mark.
it
It was bugging
wasn't
me.
it was I don't want to spill too much of his info, but it was more a different card that he really wanted. I don't think he wants to move the Jackson, but he
Hell
felt
no.
like he needed to for this other card he was falling for. So
Well, it must not be in my collection. That's for damn sure.
so we got a
But
couple of Joe Jacksons. One, the National
yeah,
Game card from 1913. Those grade fairly high. They're
they
almost
do.
like a deck of playing cards kind of card.
Yeah, again, two cards. I mean, these were really not on my list per se. Everybody's
Hmm.
seen this. This is an actual playing days card, which it's a really nice image. And if you
Yeah,
can, if you're like me and you can't afford the real thing, a fake like this will do any day of the week. Believe me, I really like because it's a great image. And the same with this. And that's why I've
yeah,
warmed to the play ball. So these are good entry points, I thought, for Joe Jackson
sure.
before I make that plunge into the Cracker Jack world. Or
Uh, Is that
those
where
are
you
going
want to
to.
go? You want to go
Well, yeah.
Cracker Jack?
Well, of course. I mean, eventually, I want to get those cards that are on Tony's list. They're also on my list, but
Yeah,
that's going to be a list that's coming in a few years. That's going to be very short. It'll be a list of
sure.
5 cards, trying to pick them off, as opposed to these were a little bit more attainable.
There's something about the Cracker Jack cards that are so beautiful and they're so classic, and I think the sky's the limit on those Cracker Jack cards.
2 regrets in my life. The first one, is only having a 2-car garage. Biggest regret. And then the second one
Wait,
is
wait. The
not buying
biggest
a step.
regret of your life is having a 2-car garage. That
Yeah.
that is going on the quote Hall of Fame for you. That might go on your tombstone, my
And
friend.
not buying that 1915 or 1914 Cracker Jack set when I had the chance, like
Oh,
everybody. I mean, it was just
yeah.
again, not starting at the top like I should have, but starting from the bottom and working my way up. It's really was a bad mistake, But we all, what are you gonna? And then
Well,
I'm
I
buying the
think
two
you've
car
got
garage.
I think you have a beautiful collection. And
Uh,
now we're on to
that.
Cy Young. You picked up a couple Cy Young cards, both from the
Yeah,
T206 set. You got the
I
glove
don't think I
shows.
pulled those.
That's okay. You got the glove shows, and then you have the portrait. The portrait was probably my top target at this year's national.
Yeah, so you
I
know how
was
hard it
looking
is.
for about a 2,
Yeah.
but I just didn't see one that would have worked for me. I like yours. I
I
like
mean,
the symmetrical.
it's
Yeah,
pretty nice. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know if it's got the rounded corners. It's close to centered. It has, not the brightest green, but pretty nice green. It's not faded. And it has, no real surface wrinkles. The back is nice. It's a nice two.
Well,
And,
the green in all of those T206s came out very pixelated, and it just very few of them have a smooth green. It's sort of like a patchy green on all across the board, and yours actually is pretty darn good for a green background
and I've been
portrait.
after that for 3-4 years too, and that just happened to again I'm finding that a lot of these cards right now are coming out of the woodwork. They're in these auctions. It's just one after another, a bigger. You're getting
You think
a
you think that's
lot.
because the prices have gone up or because of the
Yeah,
economy?
I think it's a little of both. I mean, it's smoky. That they're still getting good prices, and all of the good stuff is being smoked out. And this is probably a good time to talk about what people are talking about, like these auction companies. You can pay for your purchases with cards these days, with like consignments.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of people are consigning cards, and they're upgrading. They're like, trading in 5, 6, 10 cards and getting one card. And that's what's
Hmm.
driving the prices up. I believe, because I do believe, because like, when do you ever, I spent 4 years looking for home run derby cards.
Yeah.
You never find them. And then all of a sudden they're just they're not everywhere, but they're starting to really come out, and the prices on those are insane.
It's sort of like
Um,
that 3D Clemente that suddenly you started seeing everywhere when a couple
well,
sold
when you're
really
getting
high.
20 to 50,000 for them, yeah, you're going to
Yeah,
start seeing them.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. All
Yeah,
right, then you grabbed some Jackies. You referred to one of these earlier. On the right, that is an
yeah,
autographed postcard,
yeah. And
which
the
is
real
very
reason I
cool.
got that one, I ended up with that. That was like a booby prize at the Burbank show, because I mean, I got that from the NorCal dealer. I know I must have it around here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I really love it. And the thing that sold it on me, believe it or not, sold me, was the pinhole. I knew Mookie had just got a beautiful Jackie Robinson,
Hmm.
and I couldn't believe that I saw this. When in the room, I saw basically nothing. I told you I got that Rodney Pete Cobb, and then this thing came up,
Right.
and I traded a couple of the extra Red Man cards I had. I had another Willie Mays Red Man, a 55 and a Ted Williams, and that softened the blow for this one. But when I saw the pinhole, I go, I gotta have it. So I can see I'm looking at
That's
it.
awesome.
It's great, great card.
And then you got the
Wow.
49 Bowman Jackie on the left. And then a set that has recently, I have seen prices start to kind of climb on are
Yeah.
the Burke Ross cards have recently kind of come into style, it seems like.
So a
Um,
funny story on those.
yeah.
The Bowman, I just got that a day or two ago from TJ. TJ, that was his second. That was like his second one. He sent it off to PSA. He was asking the moon for it, Of course, he beat me like a redheaded stepchild, like most of my friends do. And I told him, yeah, because I didn't have it. I told him, I'll take it off your hands. I wonder why I don't have it here. It must be down in my other. Well, you got it. You can see how it's a beautiful
Yeah.
card. Again, no creases, no, you know, but it's his second one. He kept a two that was more centered than that. I said, dude, if you're going to find one more centered than that for that price, that's pretty good. I
Yeah.
saw ones that were as nice as that they were asking the same amount. So I said, I got to pay you off, you know. So
Sure.
we thank TJ for that. He's got an amazing collection too. You know him as well, I'm
Yeah.
sure. The Burke Ross, I love. Again, a consolation prize for lost home run derby winnings at the Mile High auction about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. I'm still waiting for that. And it's kind of got a funky little picture. I got a really good price on it. I think a lot of people were turned off by it. Looks, I don't think it's really a 5 myself. I think it's, you know, you'd be hard pressed to call it a 4. It looks like it has a little bit of crazy tinting to it. I don't think it's almost like there was a piece of paper over it. Can you tell the coloring on it?
Yeah. Right in
Kind of
here.
weird. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like you know, that would be one that even though I don't even have it yet, I could probably part with. Even though I do think they're going up, the Burke Ross. I mean, look,
Yeah, they are.
it's hard to find them with nice color and centered. You know, so I'd love to get. I don't have the Willie Mays. That was my first Burke Ross, but just kind of got stuck with it at the
Yeah.
auction. It
Stuck
happened.
with it.
I did.
Poor guy.
Shit happens. Shit happens.
How about some Clementes? You picked up several Clementes. You went on a Cons Wieners Clemente run. We got the 59, the 60, and the 61 on this screen. Obviously the same image. And
All
then
the same image. Isn't that amazing?
yeah, and then on the next screen we go the 62, the 63, the 64, which then they start mixing up the image, but these are, where did you pick up all of these? Are these different
Some
spots or?
I'm missing the 64 here. It must be around here somewhere, but where is it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm so unorganized. So a couple at a time. I picked up a couple at like a heritage auction, I think. I picked up a couple just recently at Scott Russell's Collector Connection auction. Picked up one at on eBay. It was auctioned off from, I don't know, my friend at Four Trimmed Corners. And then I picked up another one from Adam Weiss, nice guy. It's, you know, used to be an old YouTuber, but I really love those. And I really, the 57 and the 58 still eludes me. And, you know, so I'm always on the lookout for those. They weren't on my list, but I just love Roberto Clemente. Look how beautiful they are.
Yeah, they're pretty fantastic.
I always love hot dogs. Don't you love the hot dogs?
I do.
Beautiful.
And then
So
you picked up a couple of bazookas too.
well, I always like to chew gum. I lost most of my teeth chewing gum, so I love the bazookas, but I don't have a big collection. It's another one of those things. If they come up and they're nice, I'll certainly I'll bid on them, you know, because I definitely want them. I don't have any mantles. I think I just picked up that Willie Mays recently, which you know, Sammy shows this. He loves it, and
Yeah.
and when I saw this copy, you know,
Sammy got his at Strongsville on the
he
first
he
night.
he did, yeah. You know what's funny, but he gets some just amazing deals and some great cards and cards that I'm looking for forever. And then after he ends up buying them, they always pop up for me after. It's really kind of a weird thing. I always seem to like be chasing his tail
Well,
on a
speaking
lot
of
of these
Willie
cards.
Mays, here we are.
Oh,
So let's
thank
look at
God the
some of your
prices
Willies.
are
You just showed us the bazooka. Now show us the home run derby. This is
thank
such a
God these
classic
prices are
set.
they're dropping like flies, Willie Mays.
Yeah.
And this card's falling
Now,
off the roof.
any home run derby
Oh,
card has gotten really expensive. And
yeah.
you've picked up a couple.
We talked about this, how I was
Yeah.
shilled on it, and I don't even
Yeah.
care. And it
Yeah.
probably set the scene for a lot of this upward mobility, you know, because there up until recently there was no real comps. on
Yeah.
these. Now all of a sudden, in the last 6 months, you see, since July, you see comps on these. And this was a nice one. You know, look at the centering on it. These are hard to
Yeah.
find centered.
It's
Pretty
beautiful.
nicely. It's a really nice card. Yeah, I love it.
I mean, it's an
So
incredible 4.5.
you're gonna
We'll
get
say that.
chilled. You're gonna get chilled now and again. You just got to take it like a man. And then the authentic, and then like I said, that was my national pickup on the left there, where you guys were having all kinds of fun in the national. I saved so much money, I was able to afford that Stallmeyer.
Yeah, and that's a very
And that's like
cool card.
Sammy's too, and I love it. I mean, it's a clean, and this card just stares at you. I feel like Sammy showing this card
Yeah.
off. But
Yeah, it's a great card.
Dan, it really is beautiful. You can't. I really want the Mantle too, of course, but they're hard to find in nice shape. It's pretty clean. They're hard to find centered. But
The dealer that you bought the Cobb from, you mentioned earlier.
yeah,
I'm blanking on his name. At Strongsville. Chapel.
William Chapel.
Chapel
Yeah.
had a stack of Stallmeyers of different players at the
Unreal.
National, which was just mind blowing.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I missed that. I mean, because I can't, you know, on the West Coast here, you can't get his, you know, you can't have access to his inventory, which is a shame. He doesn't put it online.
Yeah.
And unless, you know, Garrett buys something, unless you get it stepped on 3 times, it's like buying blow in the 80s. You're going to get, you know, stepped on 4 times before it gets to you.
I'll just have to take your word for that.
I know what not that I know.
You're sure, yeah. So here's some Campanellas. Now, same pose, another Stallmeyer.
Yeah,
The 53 Stallmeyer. It's such a classic pose, which is also on the 51 Bowman.
On that Heritage auction that John 3D had me on, there was the actual Type 1 photo of this.
Yeah.
That he had signed. And they had given it a list of like $5,000, and I was going to go hard on it. I told him I'm going to win that. I said I'll go up to 7,000-8,000. That thing was at like 10,000-12,000 before I even blinked. I'm going there. I guess there I am again. So I end up with the sloppy seconds. You know what I mean? The one card, 3 cards, I just get boom, 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 right out of, and then I end up, you know, that Maple Chris bet that Ruth that I didn't get, jump that extra bit on, and then it comes up for sale. You know, before the guy ever has it, you know, it went to a dealer or a collector / dealer, and he, you know, he had it listed for $2,000 more the next day. You know, so that's kind of frustrating when you lose out like that, but that's part of the game. You know, you just got to dust yourself off.
All right, so now we've got some Tris Speaker.
We're not done yet?
No. We still have a few. This has been a big year. She got the 33 Gowdy Speaker.
So embarrassed.
And then the 28. You don't have to hold them all up. We're good. We'll just float through the rest. We're over an hour. I'm having a blast.
People are getting sick of this shit by now.
No,
I'm sure.
I don't think they are.
So
the 28 Yingling.
The Yin Yang, you know, that was from you might have been with Mookie.
Yeah.
You know, because I was in a text chain.
Yeah.
When I'm sure, you know, like I'm everybody's pal and everything, but I didn't get text on the card. I got text secondhand after somebody turned it down because they already had it. So they said, I know, let's talk Petty into getting it. He'll do it. He'll do anything.
So to tell this whole story, Mookie was on the hunt for a friend of ours in common for any ice cream cards and sent this one to the friend, and he already had one. So then they looped in Petty, and then Petty ended up negotiating it and doing the deal. And
Mookie did it all. I said, this is what I want to pay.
Mookie ends up with it and mails it across the country to you.
Charmed him. And you can see the difference. Like, look at that card compared to the ones that I normally buy. You saw them before. This one's like perfect. Of course,
fantastic.
So it's really nice. Yeah, I'm happy to have that in the collection.
It's
I have
beautiful.
a few Tris speakers, and
now we're on the Hot Rogers Hornsby. Couldn't go a whole year without picking up a couple of those. So we got a 21 Caramel and a 28 Yingling. Where'd you get that Yingling?
So that was at auction. There's a guy on eBay. he's asking like 15 grand for it or some ridiculous price. And I spoke with our mutual friend that collects these,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, I have one. He says, I think I want to upgrade that. I said, you want to upgrade? I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? Upgrade. And I go, let's see what you got. He sends me over. He's got a 6. I looked at the car. I go, that's nicer than this stupid thing. I go, why would you want to upgrade? I go, but I said, I really want one. I go, I'm going to bid. We think it's going to go for, 3,000 or something crazy. When I go, I'm going to put a big bid in and sleep in the gutter, And then he says, yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'll just hold on to my, he does a registry and all that, but his is much more centered, much nicer than that. But I ended up getting that one for half the price. So I was very excited about it, to add it to
Awesome.
my collection. Yeah.
And then we got a couple Gil Hodges and another home run derby and a Stallmeyer.
So, I've always loved Gil. I hate to tell those guys, that he was a LA Dodger too. My
Right.
friend from the Mets, but I always did like, he's one of the guys on my player run. I consider him like between a tier 2 and a tier 3 guy. So I have generally every one of his cards, but some of these, offshoots I don't have that I collected them this year. That home run derby came up a couple of times. Amazing how 2 copies came up right away, and then this one, and I think I got an outright deal. It's not centered or anything, old label, but it's a beautiful card.
Yeah.
Stallmeyer, same thing with that one.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
a little bit.
I know with your Dodger roots, I know you have a soft spot for him.
I do. I always liked him. He's a good man.
Now I just did various because there's kind of a plethora. So we've got a Hires Root Beer Duke Snyder, another Dodger guy.
Yeah, it
And
was
then-
another accident I got myself into.
And then
Because I was looking for that
Hank
card
Aaron.
for 3 years, probably that Hires Root Beer, not with the tab. I was just looking for it with no tab, graded, or
Mhm.
maybe not, but I mean, it just never came up. For 3 or 4 of them were up there for a while. They were all overpriced, and then they got, I don't know, they disappeared, and just one of those cards. And then that came up, and then another one came up right away after that for less money. Of course, it got sold. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It's part of living. But the other one, the Lake to Lake, that's nice.
Now,
That's
tell me
great.
about that. I'm not super familiar with those.
That was another regional issue. Matt can tell you a lot more about it. He's got it. These cards generally they have a staple in them up on top, and then once you tear them off, I think they were like in a milk product or butter or something like that. And then when you send them in, they would punch a hole in them. So there's a lot, a few A's, but there's very few that are graded.
Hmm.
So it sat on Net 54 for quite a while, and nobody really wanted it. I made the guy an offer, and he took it. He just wanted to get rid of it. Pretty good, very nice card though.
Yeah.
Very hard to get. Low pop.
Now we've got another. So the one on the right, the Stan Musial, has got a special place in my heart because I was with you for that one.
Yeah, I knew you saw that one.
That was a fun day.
Yeah.
So you got the home run derby mantle. It says color added on a black and white card, so that's fun.
I mean, that's hard to believe. And I look at it and I'm going like, where do they? I try to blow it up and everything. I'm going like, where do they see the color added? Because don't forget, this card was in with the entire set. So this must have been an entire set that they just had graded that went up on Probstein.
Right,
It got
right.
filled.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only one that came back color added. So I think it might be something in here that you barely can see. But I mean, like I looked it up on magnification. Who would touch that up? I mean, why would you even try?
Yeah.
It's so nice. I think it appears to be like a 5 if you look at it, and the back's perfect.
Yeah.
So, and here's that other thing that the back is perfect, but this down here bugs me because they put it in that plastic at SGC, and then it just all ruffles up, and they're ridiculous. These grading card companies. But I think I got a pretty good deal on this, even though I got shilled on it, because the shiller he gave up. if you can imagine on this one. This was one, even it was too high for the Schiller. But when
He didn't want you to drop it on him.
yeah, exactly. But the one that just was in Love of the Game, along with the Aaron, it was a PSA 5, which I mean, I don't think it looked much better than this, to be honest with you. I even said that I think that I might want to go make a play for that, and then I'll trade this one. I'll set the higher comp.
Sure.
Whatever. I think, and maybe I will, but then I go, I really like this, and I put a couple bids in. I figured it'd go for about 10,000. I think it went for 18,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that's out of my pay grade.
For a 5.
5.
And then you got a beautiful Leaf DiMaggio here. Now,
Yeah,
like you were saying earlier, that's so hard to find that set centered
yeah,
and with decent registration, and that really has both.
yeah. I mean, it's not as bright as Darren's. You have to compare every card to what he has because his are all like, perfectly centered, and between him and Dylan. And I really wasn't, it was a card that was on my long list, I would say, but it just happened to come up at auction, and I got, I bid on it, and I happened to win it a little bit higher than some other numbskull.
I gotta say, for a guy who claims he's got a low eye appeal collection, that screen right there is very high eye appeal.
But you know what turns me off is that one in the middle that you got to look at it like this. It's a little off center.
And then we got a couple of the 71 greatest moments. These cards are super hard to find. And then
I love them.
We got the Pete Rose over here on the right.
I've been looking at these. I have, a list of about 5 more that I want to collect this year. So these are the ones that just happened to come up this year that I was able to win. I mean, they're really hard to find.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking for a nice Thurman Munson, nice Johnny Bench, maybe a Brooks Robinson. The guys I normally do player runs on, they're getting a little pricey too, though.
Yeah, they're getting really pricey.
And then, of course, Pete Rose, I got that a good deal because it was in an old label and won that in an auction. So, God, before he passed away, that's a shame. But great. Those are great cards. I just love
Beautiful cards. And we're getting close to the end here. So we've got a Jimmy Foxx, a 33 Gouty Jimmy Foxx, and then a 39 play ball Hank Greenberg.
Again, the Jimmy Foxx has always been on my list. I'd never really, I was just one of those guys that always falls through the cracks because I didn't like the price point, at the time. And you get in an auction if you win it, for less than the comps. At a 2.5, get it for a 2 price or something. That's a little off center, but I mean, the card just looks beautiful, in person. So like that's really that's right down my wheelhouse. I wish I could afford a Ruth that nice, but
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And then last but not least, your one basketball card. You added, you cracked the seal on your basketball card collection with a big one. The Kareem rookie card in an SGC 5.
Yeah, I got this at the Pasadena show when there was really nothing there. I happened to run into a collector where we seem to go head to head on a lot of these cards. He's got a ton of signed cards and some really amazing things. And at that show, there was nobody buying these, and I've never comped them. I've never looked at them, and he was asking like $1,000 or something. I said, "What about 800?" And kind of went back and forth, and he took it. And another guy was selling these like a 2 at like $1,000 or something like that. So I said, this is pretty centered. I go, I think I need it. That was the right time. I still had a little cash on me, and it worked out. I mean, I love these. Your dad's got this whole set.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if I could have the whole set, I would love it too. Maybe I will someday, but it's obviously low on my list.
So I mean, we are in October, and that was an insane year, and it's not over yet. Do you have anything between now and the end of the year that is high on the list?
Whatever comes up. If that T227 comes up, I mean, I bid hard on one that was a 3 that was way out of my price range. And again, I was the underbidder. I would have kind of hurt me to, but if I get something like that, maybe I will. You're looking for that? Yeah, you're going to keep that in your list.
I just wrote,
And
just wrote it
yeah,
down. So yeah.
I mean, if anything comes up, looks good up until, I told myself I was gonna end the year at Heritage, this next auction. And
Hmm.
then Golden Auction came out with their first vintage. That's just insane.
I know.
So I don't know. I mean, these,
When does that
I,
one close? The golden one?
I think at the end of the month,
Yeah.
I believe at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So
Golden is now
we'll
doing
we'll
vintage
see.
only
I'm
auctions.
not made of money, but and you got to draw the line somewhere. But like I've said, I mean, a lot of this money that I've saved has been on money I might put to other things. Like, a lot of my baseball card collection is from not going on trips. I'll go to Texas, see the grandkids or something like that, but I'm not spending, like $100,000 on trips a year. I haven't bought a new car in 5 years, and the car I use for work is 18 years old. So I'm not spending on that. I don't buy Dodger season tickets anymore. Those were 100 grand, when I used to buy those for business or what. Now, I mean, I'm totally out of that. I'll go to 1 or 2 games a year. So I kind of like just, put this money into this hobby, and it's been quite a year. All in all, I'm just like really very grateful. I can't believe it that guys would be interested in this, or for you to show this, and I'm a little embarrassed because then people can see what I've been up to. But
I
you know,
I I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy seeing these cards, and you've got a great taste, and you've got great cards, and people like to see what other people are up to.
you're right.
And it is more than anything. It was you and I were talking on the phone like 2 3 weeks ago, and I said I want to have you on just because I want to hang out. And
Yeah,
so
and
we
show
were
some
kind of
cards,
looking
and
for yeah, what can we
I
talk
was just
about?
saying that how disappointed I was that no matter where I go on, and no matter what I try with the lighting and whatnot, I can never show a damn card. It's always glare. And I have such a respect for you guys that are putting this content together, what you go through to highlight your cards and do all that. Like Dylan. I mean, I really think that he should show people like how are you doing this with your lighting? And like what kind of equipment? Sammy, another one that just figured out he holds a card up. I mean, and it looks like gold. And it's just, I mean, it's a nice way to show your cards and to get your, you know, you don't want to see a bunch of glare and a bunch of shit. My shtick is old. People are obviously, I mean, the only people that have me on now are you and Sports Card Radio, and I don't have to show cards on there.
I don't think that's the I don't I wouldn't take that anyway special. I just know I love hanging out with you. You know
I
that. You know
know.
that I
I
love
like
you,
hanging out with
and
you. Yeah, me
I'm
too.
I'm excited for Strongsville. Uh,
Oh, me too. You better
you know,
believe
hanging
it.
out's going to be a blast. I had so much fun last year. So,
It will be. Yeah, we'll look forward to it for sure.
all
Well,
right.
can't
Well,
thank you enough for having me
yo,
on. And
yeah, dude. Thanks for sharing with us
mhm,
and sending me pictures so I could get them all pulled up and people could get a
yeah,
good view of what you've been buying. And I can't say enough how amazed I am and impressed I am at what you've added
well,
to your
like I
collection
said,
this
it's a
year.
little bit embarrassing all in all, like to just, come out with that. And that I couldn't believe it when I went through it and said, this is from a year. I mean, and this isn't even it might be 80% of my pre-war. But I've never even shown stuff from 1950 to the 70s. Nobody's ever really asked for much of that or whatever. You see it everywhere. Nobody gives a shit. But that's the bulk of my collection, and we'll talk more about it. Like if you want to have me on again or
Yeah.
something in a few months for the direction when you start looking at hobby goals for next year and
Yeah.
things like that. I think my
I
my direction's certainly going to change a little bit for sure.
I I can't wait to do that again just
Yeah.
as an excuse to hang out, and then the cameras happen to be on too, and if anyone wants to
You
watch, good for them.
You're awesome, man. Thanks again for having me on.
All
I
right,
appreciate it.
buddy.
All
Thanks
right.
again for coming on. I had a
That's
blast.
great. All right. All the best, man. Peace out.